Welcome to the Woodturning Workshop. Today we're going to be making a pretty neat project, a potpourri bowl. We're going to be using a lot of tools including the roughing gouge, spindle gouge, and a multi-tip tool. Stay tuned. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to want to do is rough out our piece of wood. I've got a 4-prong drive center on this end. I've got a live center in my tailstock. I've kind of got the center marked. This is a wonky piece of wood. It's a cutoff from a bowl I made a few years ago. This is myrtle burl, and it's a really beautiful wood. Let's get our tool rest up first and make sure that we're not going to hit anywhere before we lock it down. See, we're hitting right there. Bring it back a touch. Okay. Don't forget your eye protection. Make sure your lathe is turned down to a low speed before you start. If this is way out around and you got it at a high speed, it could either throw off or shake your lathe, and that's dangerous. Now I want to pick the speed up. There we go. Now remember, with something this out around, you want to approach it carefully. Take your roughing gouge. Put it on the tool rest first. Have it low, so what makes contact first is the bottom of the bevel. Then I raise the handle up slightly. It starts to cut. I just move my body over to the side. It's not cutting now. I come back, repeat, start again, come back and repeat. Now I want to go the other way to even it out. Same thing. Start here, barely touch, go to the side, go to the side. Don't move your arms, move your body as a unit, and that'll make a clean cut. So we're going to go ahead and get this taken down to a cylinder, and then we'll try to figure out what shape we're going to make out of our potpourri dish. There, we're rounded out. The next thing I want to do is clean up the ends and make sure that they're straight. By doing that, I can see the grain pattern better, and I'll know which end of this I want to make the top of my potpourri dish and show off the best features. I'm going to take my parting tool to do that. I'm going to have to move the tool rest forward a little bit to get it closer. Turn it back on, and then we'll just take off a little bit at a time. Got both ends flat. I like the grain on that. Oh, the grain on this end's even better. So I'll make that the top of the potpourri dish. The next thing I want to do is to put a tenon on this end so I can hold this in the chuck. The jaws on my chuck have a slight bevel to them. It goes in. So I've actually taken a Badan tool and I've grounded it at a special angle. That way I can make the tenon in one cut. Before we go any further, let's take a look at a potpourri bowl I've already made. Well, first off, it's not a bowl, it's actually a hollow vessel, but that's just a technical thing. We're going to have to do several things with this to finish it. One is to make a lip in it that will hold this potpourri lid. You can get this at most wood turning sources. And the other thing we're going to be doing is hollowing it out. But the first thing we have to consider is shape. So we're going to start shaping out our piece now. Remember, anytime you remount a piece of wood, it's going to be slightly out around. So you want to take a couple of passes along it to true up the surface. That way when you make any cuts from that point on, your tool won't be bouncing off that wood. Now, I'm just going to start whittling away at this a bit. I'm going to treat it like one large bead and just start rounding the edge off. You don't take a lot at once. Just take a little bit at a time. You sneak up on it. Now I've got a safety issue here. You can see that the tool is starting to stick out off the tool rest quite a bit. What I need to do is stop the lathe, take the tool rest, and move it to the side a little bit. That way, as I make this curve with the spindle gouge, I'm not going to have to hang off the tool rest so much. If you hang off the tool rest too far, it'll catch and pull down, and that can be really dangerous while you're turning. Okay, I'm close to getting the shape I like on the top, but I'm not going to finish that out. I want to move over to this end and start working on the bottom part of the potpourri dish, because sometimes it's just intuition and feel, and that's how you get the shape you want. So I can't really work off a diagram most times. I just kind of have to look at the wood, work with it a little bit, move some wood here, move some wood there, and sooner or later I get a shape that I like. It's usually a lot smaller piece of wood than I started with, but it is a nice shape. There, I've done about all I want to do to the outside. I really like the shape. And isn't this wood beautiful? That's why I love myrtle burl so much. Notice here I left the wood extra thick. I need that because it'll give a lot of support when I start doing the hollowing in a minute. But the step I want to get to right now is some sanding. Turn your lathe back on and lower the speed down. You don't want to burn the wood because you create heat and friction when you sand. Also, the reason we're sanding now is if we did this after we hollowed the bowl, with the thin walls, that heat might cause the bowl to crack. The next step, I want to drill a hole. That's going to help me with the hollowing. It's also going to help me make the lip in a minute. And I'm going to use a Jacobs chuck to do that. It's just a drill bit chuck with a Morse taper on it that fits into your tailstock. I have a Forstner bit in here, and I've already marked it with tape to show me the depth that I want to go into the blank. That way I won't go through the bottom. Slide your tailstock up. Don't let it touch. Lock it down. Turn the lathe on. It's still set at the speed we had for sanding. That's nice and slow. And then just slowly advance the tailstock in, and I'll start cutting. Back it out occasionally to clear the chips. And you just keep repeating this till you get to the depth you want. Grab your calipers, get your potpourri lid, and we're going to get the diameter on there. We're going to take this measurement and transfer it to the wood, then we'll know how wide to cut the lip. You just want this tip to touch. Once you start making the score line and it matches up to here, then you know you have your diameter right. There we go. We're going to use a bowl gouge to cut the lip. So bring your tool rest up. Make sure it's just below center. Turn your lathe on. Pick the speed back up. We're going to cut from the center out. I'm stopping just short of that mark because I can't put wood back, but I can always widen the lip a little bit if I need to. Now we need to do a test fit. Okay, we gotta go a little bit wider. That's easy to do. That's just right. Now all I need to do is lower the lip down a little bit so this will sit flush. That's the perfect height. This is a multi-tip tool. You can put different tips on it for different purposes, but right now this tip I'm using is aggressive, so it removes a lot of wood quickly, and we're going to use it to hollow out the bowl. Make sure your tool rest is high enough that this tip will be slightly above center. It cuts best in that position. Also, you notice this dark mark? That's as far in as I want to go. I need to leave a shelf for the lid to sit on. Remember when I was talking about tools overhanging the tool rest? This is a good time to stop now. We're going to adjust the tool rest slightly and bring it in at an angle. That way, I'm not hanging over the tool rest as far, and it's a safer cut. It's wanting to pull down right now. Basically, we're just scraping, so this tip dulls really quickly. So let's go over to the grinder and I'll show you how to sharpen it. To sharpen it, just bring it up gently to the grinder wheel and rotate it back and forth. Don't use any pressure. Use pressure, it'll get hot and you'll burn your fingers. I've taken out as much wood as I can with this multi-tip tool. I have to get around the corners now, and I'm going to use a curved multi-tip tool to do that. I have to bring the tool rest back because I want to make sure that I contact the tool rest with the straight part of the tool and not the curved part. Take really small cuts at this. You don't want the tool pulling out of your hand. So we just nibble away at it a little bit. We're going to adjust the tool rest slightly. Every now and then, make sure you stop it. Use your thickness gauges here and see how you're doing on your walls. I've got the inside finished except for one final thing. I've resharpened my tool. It's got a fresh edge on it. I'm going to go in and make one nice pass on it. Just take whispers of wood off. That'll leave the best finish possible on the inside. We're going to use our parting tool now to part the bowl off the lathe. As you do this, take a cut, come back, move over a little bit, take another cut. That's a relief cut. If you just plunge down in one cut, it'll bind on the sides of the tool and get you in trouble. We also don't want to go too close to the bottom of the bowl because we're going to clean that up in a minute. Now we need to clean up the bottom. The remaining wood I had in the chuck, I've made a jam fit with. So we're going to put this on, like so. That'll hold it, but for security I'm bringing up my tailstock. And in my tailstock I have a live center with a point removed. That way I won't poke a hole in the bottom of my bowl. Bring my tool rest up. I'm going to take a spindle gouge and clean up the bottom. Just take light cuts while you do this. Pretty nice. I'll just do a little sanding on the bottom and get rid of that nib that's left. Here's our finished potpourri bowl. I put a linseed oil finish on it, and that really brings the grain out. I hope you enjoyed today's project. It was a lot of fun for me. Well, until the next time on Wood Turning Workshop, keep turning.